Hey, you look like you need to keep your hands busy, because I think what you want to do with your hands is not something too good, okay? So today, I'm going to give you a little trick to keep those hands busy, alright? So first, what we got to do is, we got to get loose, alright? Just start shaking it out, stretch the neck out a little bit. Oh! Ooh, what was that? Well, actually, that is the thing I'm going to show you how to do. It's going to make it look like you're cracking your neck, but in reality you're just popping your finger. So here's how it's done. First, you take your hand and you put it like so. And you gotta have a little space in between these middle fingers here. And then you're gonna take your other hand and you're gonna put it in there, okay? And you put it against your face. And the reason you put it against your face is because that creates a suction cup. And when you pop it, it goes like that. Pretty sweet, huh? And when you move that head in with it, people think you just like broke your neck. Takes a little practice, but eventually you can like pop it on your leg. I know you can't see that, but I'm not going to show it to you. So anyway, play around with that if you find yourself, feeling tempted to watch porn or masturbate, because that's a way cooler skill anyway. So welcome to the Sacred Sexuality Project, where we help you live a higher expression of your sexuality. And today, I want to talk to you about something very special to me, and this is the concept of meditation and centering. And this is also applied to the concepts of how to embrace and deal with an urge, because I've talked about that in the past, but I've gotten a lot of questions on how to actually do that, and this is the best way that I see of communicating that message. So there's all sorts of resources and techniques on how to meditate, and a lot of them are good, but this is not going to be just your basic mindfulness meditation. I put my own spin on it. If you want to see a more standard kind of meditation, then look one up. There's a million online. But my basic understanding of meditation is that it is used for freedom. Meditation is a way that you can enhance your freedom. It's a path to, in a sense, enhance your ability to think, act, and feel in a harmonious way. What do I mean by a harmonious way? Well, very often we have these contradictions inside of us, where one side of us wants to do one thing, but the other side of us wants to do another thing, and this push and pull is a disharmony. It's a clashing, right? So, for example, sometimes you have the urge to watch porn, right? You want to do it. Part of you really wants to do it, but then another part of you is like, no, don't do that. It's not good for you. So that kind of disharmony can manifest itself in many ways, and is really the root of all our consternation and struggle. When there's enough energy behind this misalignment, it actually ends up putting limitations on our free will. So, for example, if there's a part of us that really, really wants to watch porn, then, there's a chance that we might actually do it. We might actually give into it. So, while technically, the choice is always ours, making that choice can be so hard. It's like it can end up being like a prison, Feel like you're trapped by these things that you can't really control. So the key to break free from all of these things that kind of push and pull on our free will is learning how to get centered. And in self-development work, this concept of centering gets tossed around a lot, but it doesn't really tend to get explained very well, okay? So what being centered means is bringing our awareness to the center of our energetic orbit. So how we have a center of gravity? Well, we also have a center of energy. So when it comes to our center of gravity, if we put all of our weight on one foot and we get pushed, well, we fall over. It's very easy to fall. It's very easy to push someone over if all their weight's on one foot. But if instead we get ourselves planted and secure and balanced over our center of gravity, well, it's going to be much harder to push us over. And in the same way, when we're centered in our bodies and minds, then it's much harder to knock our actions or thoughts or emotions off course. So if you think about it, we're really processing all of this energy around us all the time. There's a ton going on. And unless if we can get centered, this energy is going to sweep us away. Because if we're centered, we can just let it flow by us and, we'll be fine. But otherwise, we're setting up our free will to be compromised. So in order to explain this concept of centering a little bit better, I'm going to bring in some props. So this first prop I'm going to use is this frisbee, okay? And this frisbee is going to represent all of our energy, okay? It's going to represent the energy that we need to learn how to process from a centered state, okay? And my finger is going to represent our awareness, okay? So normally, if our awareness was centered, it would be right here, right in the center here. But I want to show you what it looks like if it's not centered, if it's all the way over on the edge where you're imbalanced. So if you start to process it, see how it goes. It's kind of floppy and sad looking. And, I can't spin it too fast or else it starts getting a lot of strain on my finger and it probably will fly off, into the camera, which I do not want to happen. So there's two important things here. The first is there's a lot of strain on my finger, on my awareness, when you're not centered, okay? Because when the frisbee is going around, like when it's over here, my finger's being pulled this way. And when it's over here, my finger's being pulled this way. And if I try to go faster, process more energy at a time, well, my finger's got to be really strong for one, but there's a limit, and eventually it's going to fly off, and that's kind of when we lose control. That's an example of when you relapse. Okay, so now to demonstrate what it's like when our awareness is centered, I'm going to use a basketball to show you. All right. So again, the basketball is the energy that we're trying to process, and the finger is the awareness. It's the way that we position our awareness, and this time it's going to be positioned in the center under the ball. And I'll see if I can do this well here. I'm gonna sit down and do it that way so I can hold it up and keep it in front of the camera. But basically, there you go. Notice how my finger is still, or my finger was still, and how fast the ball is spinning compared to the frisbee. So you notice, like, the finger barely moves, and if I had a nicer basketball, my finger would be dead still, and this ball would just be spinning like crazy. So by being centered, you're able to, not only process more energy more quickly, but it's also less strain. It's much more effortless. So by this point, I hope I have convinced you that learning how to get centered is something that you really want to learn how to do. Okay, and I believe personally that it is one of the most powerful processes in the universe. Okay, so I'm going to break it down into 3 simple steps that you can use to build a meditative practice, use to process urges, and really just live the life that you want to live. So the first step is to bring your awareness to your center. Okay, what does that mean? Well, bringing your awareness to your center is simple. It's just dropping your awareness out of your head or wherever it is, up into the clouds or whatever, and dropping it down right into the center of your heart. So why the center of your heart? Why do we pick that? Well, if you break our experience down into 2 different types, you've got a mental experience and you've got a physical experience. Okay? And the mental experience is obviously kind of associated with the head, and the physical experience is associated down here with the abdomen and the genitals, really, because, we think about physical experience, the most intense physical experience we have is an orgasm, and then, our physicality in general is powered by our digestion, which happens down here. So, center of the physical is down here, center of the mental is up here. And what we want is to get to that balanced point right between them, okay? And what do you get when you have a thought meet a feeling? Well, you get an emotion, right? Emotions are essentially thoughts that you can feel, and emotions are centered in the heart. So the first step is as simple as bringing your awareness into your heart. And what's important about that is that means that your awareness is not floating around in some mental territory. So the reason you need to have your awareness situated in your body is because it's not protected out there. All of our fears, our worries, all of our monsters, our demons, or everything like that, these are things that operate on the mental plane. And if our awareness is out there in that mental plane, it's kind of like exposed to the elements, as it were. Your fears become like, bears that maul your awareness and, screw everything up and make things painful. So the way that you help protect yourself is by bringing yourself into your body, into the center of your heart. Because if you think about it like that, then, you know, these fears and things like that, you can, in a way, reduce them and separate yourself from them because, you know, they become sensations. So here's a couple of visualizations to help you do that, to bring your awareness into your heart. You can, one, imagine that, you know, when you close your eyes, they're like elevator doors closing. And then you ride that awareness down your head, through your throat, and into your heart. The other way you can do it is just imagine that your awareness is like a pebble and you're just dropping it down and just splashing into this nice calm space of the heart. So it's as simple as that. That's step one. So step number two is picking an object that you want to come into harmony with. A lot of meditative practices use things like, you know, your breath. Sometimes they use like a sound or a prayer or a word or something that you focus on, okay? And basically this thing that you focus on for our purposes is the thing that you want to harmonize with. And for the sake of practicing meditation, I would recommend just sticking with the breath, because the breath has some interesting properties, you know, in the fact that it's both voluntarily controlled as well as a, you know, unconscious process that just continues whether we're thinking about it or not. So I think that's kind of nice to include. But ultimately, the goal is to be able to harmonize with anything, you know, any thought, any feeling, any situation, whatever. So you just got to pick what it is. You got to identify it, bring awareness to it. But basically, step two is just picking your object that you're going to harmonize with. And step three is really just doing that harmonization process. So you have yourself centered, you picked out your object, and you just harmonize with it, okay? And the way that you do that is through love, through projecting and vibrating love with whatever that thing is. And love is chosen because really love encompasses every single positive thing, you know? Bravery, happiness, joy, confidence, openness, playfulness, really the list goes on and on and on. All of these things, gentleness, you know, effortlessness, all of these things can be found within love. So if you can learn how to perfect love, then you've also learned how to perfect all of these other things, right? Another great thing about love is that you don't have this obstacle of being like, well, how do I get myself to feel that? Basically, all you need to do is find one single positive emotion to connect with that thing, that object with, you know, just one of those things. And once you have that, then you can expand it to encompass everything, you know, because once you have one positive way to connect with it, you know, even if it's just acceptance, then the acceptance is a part of love. So you've already got a part of love, and then it's just a matter of broadening and deepening that scope of vibration. So here's a walkthrough of a basic meditation session, okay? First, you find yourself a nice comfortable place to sit. And yes, you want to sit, not lie down, because if you lie down, that tells your body that you're ready to go to sleep, and chances are you might do that. So you don't want to lower your awareness, you want to increase it. So sit somewhere. Second, you're going to tune into your body. You're going to tune into your heart. Okay, so you bring your awareness into your heart and let that take a few minutes. Let yourself get nice and fully centered. It actually takes a few minutes for your brain waves to, you know, move into a meditative state anyway. So don't rush this process. Just wait until you feel centered. You know, it could take a little while, especially in the beginning. Don't worry about any kinds of emotions that come up. You know, it's actually normal for some things that come up for your first try. I know for me, I had a particular hard time when I first started meditating a few years ago, and I would just get extremely frustrated and angry. So basically that was a lot of energy that I had to work through. So whatever comes up, let it come up. Just feel it. Just sit through it, ride it out, and eventually you will calm down and you'll be able to sit comfortably in your heart space. And if you can't do that, then don't even worry about the next part of the meditation. Just keep focusing on getting settled in here. And once you're settled in here, then you can start doing the other stuff. Next, you're going to tune into your breath. Okay, you're going to just start observing your breath. And the goal is to try and breathe with as much love as possible. So you want to breathe in love. You want to breathe out love. You know, as your breath changes from the inhale to the exhale, you want to love that little crest at the top and at the bottom. Okay, and basically you're just trying to cultivate this feeling of love. And, you know, if you're doing this in the moment, you know, where you're processing an urge or something like that, it's the same deal. You just love it. Learn how to love it. Embrace it. Open it up to it unconditionally. So really, you just do that for a while, you know, until you feel like you're done. And obviously, other stuff's going to come up. You know, you're not going to be able to just stay laser focused on your breath. So when other stuff comes up, let it. Okay, an analogy that I like to use is you're sitting in front of a fish tank, okay, and you've picked out one fish that you're going to focus on. You're going to learn how to love this one fish, okay? Now, every once in a while, you might be distracted by some of the other fish in the tank. That's fine, you know, just accept them as being in there, you know, let yourself love them, but, you know, when you notice yourself paying attention to something else, just bring it back to that original thing, you know. For our example, it would be the breath or an urge. And an additional insight for, you know, when you're working with urges specifically, the idea is that if you get yourself centered enough, then this urge, it just orbits around you. You know, it's like as if you were in the center of this ball and the urge is a piece on the outside and it just spins. It just, you know, whistles past you and you just stay rooted and grounded and free from any influence of it, you know, because that finger was still, and even though the ball, all of the stuff around it was spinning. So that's really what you're trying to do. You're trying to be the center of your own galaxy. So that's my video. I hope you all found it helpful, but don't go anywhere yet because I have some news I want to share with all of you lovely people out there in YouTube land.